Okay, it's late. I had a big day working today. Then had dinner with the family for Veterans Day. Oh, I'm stuffed and not full of energy, but we're gonna see if we can find some bugs. Dude, this vulture flew off and then turned around. A vulture flew off screen and turned around without hitting anything, which shouldn't be possible. But maybe I'm just imagining it. What the heck? Did you see I died up there? What the heck, bruh? What would be causing that? And not all the time. Oi. Okay, we gotta figure some stuff out. It's really disheartening that stuff is just broken when it wasn't. And that makes it harder to find, because I don't even know what to look for at this point. My first instinct is to stop spawning maybe all of the vultures. Let me just see if we set our vulture spawn timer to 100. Then we can see if we still die up here. Okay, it doesn't look like we're dying anymore up there, so something's going on by the time vultures are made. Let's see. Where do we instantiate our vultures? Let's switch this back to 10. Let's see where we instantiate all our vultures. What the heck? That's spawning vultures for wave 1. So if self.wave is 1, then judging on the vulture spawn timer, we're creating a new vulture, putting it into a variable called vulture1, putting that vulture1 variable into our vultures table at index 1. Okay. So I guess let's see if I'm gonna take out vulture 2 and 3, so there should only be one vulture spawning. And then now I'm gonna see if we die up here. We do. Do we die if this is a different vulture? So if we don't spawn a vulture, we don't die, and if the vulture is spawned, we do die up there. So what is going on? What? We just died by walking off the screen now. What is happening? So this is what's so hard to debug, is like we can't really step through our code. We have to manually print up anything we want to debug. So let's see if we look for player 1 exploded. So we'll say 1 exploded. We'll look through the logic that determines whether or not we're exploded. It looks like it's under a pterodactyl collision, and this is still pterodactyl collision. Okay, this doesn't set it. So for some reason we're detecting a collision. So let's try this, because one of these, I'm thinking one of these exploded is getting set to true, but we don't know which one. One of these player 1 exploded is getting true, otherwise we wouldn't be exploding, right? So if we don't know where to start with that, we can just see if this function is ever turning true, and if that's turning true when we walk up there, we know that there's something in that is a mistake. So what we can do is in our debugging we go we print out player 1 enemy top collides with the vulture object we want is our vulture at index 1. And we do need that. So we can say enemy top collides. Okay. Okay. 50, 5, 3, 4. What? Okay. Ostrich 106. Enemies to nil value. Enemy top collides. Okay, so we can't run debugging on vultures. Oh, vultures with an S table. Jesus. What the fuck? Right here, vultures 1. So what if we just do vulture 1 instead of vultures at index 1? I don't know what the difference is. Vultures 1. Great, man. What the Why doesn't that work? Why can't I put a vultures 1? So vulture 1 is the vulture instantiation, so why doesn't that work? Vulture 1 doesn't work, and vultures at index 1 also doesn't work. I have no idea, dude. The variable should work. Oh my god. It is called enemy top collides, right? Enemy top collides. Takes in an enemy. Why is it not working? So can we say... How about can we say... vulture1.x. Just print out vulture x. No. Vulture1 is a nil value. That's because... Okay, so this is the whole fucking deal. This is why it's such a nightmare. Because vulture1 isn't instantiated yet. Because vulture spawn timer has to get turned on in order for vulture1 to exist. So we can either bypass that for debugging purposes, or I want to figure out a way where we don't have to do this, but the only way I know is to, in our init function, give ourselves, like right here, give ourselves a vulture1 at a vulture x and y. This is the dummy values that we've been having to put in there. It's because if anything doesn't get initialized on frame 1, it just freaking crashes, because it's trying, you know, the debugging is trying to access this vultures1, which is not a, or which is a nil because it hasn't been assigned yet. So if we assign it up here, vultures1 table gets a vultures instantiation. Then we, in our debug, we say just print out our vulture1. Actually, this would be vultures at our 1 index, that x, which should be 0. And then vultures1 should get overwritten once the timer is up. We need another stupid nil. Whatever. Great. Oh my god. Okay. But argument 2, to set random seed. Vulture 256. Random seed, we need a self-index, so we're not giving fucking index either. Sorry for the language. It just gets disheartening when it's like, this wasn't even supposed to be a problem, and then I can't even figure out anything anymore. Okay. So we're at least able to print out a value. Now I think this is getting so jacked because we start off not at the graveyard. I don't know if that's exactly why it's flipping out. But yeah. Okay, because what's happening... Okay, I got you. Okay, this might explain some stuff. Because I initialized our vulture to the graveyard, but if you look at it, we're clearly on screen. And that's because we have to prevent us from jumping off the top of the screen. If our y is smaller than 0, we're clamping it to 0. So it's almost like we need a... that might explain a lot of things. So every time I've been putting stuff in the graveyard, it actually doesn't get set into the graveyard. So that tells me we need to keep track we need to keep track of our status, and by the time we're doing our fix for the bouncing off the top, we need to ask if we are spawned or not, or whatever flag we choose to set. So if we see off top, bouncing off top, look, we're having nothing to do with if we're spawned or not. So what if we say if we're spawned or if we're alive? See, so the thing is, we've already got dead, right? Or exploded. So maybe, what do we do? Do we do our exploded and we say if we're, I don't know what we want to do. This could explain some of the bugs though, because everything seems to be going jacked up always at the top of the screen like that. So this might be fixing some stuff. Let's give us just a totally new boolean called basically dead or inert. I don't know, inert. So if inert starts off as true, now we're gonna have to manually overwrite that upon spawning, and then upon exploded we become inert again, and if we're inert we don't get updated by any of these weird X position, Y position things. So maybe, yeah, maybe for, where's our bouncing off bottom? Oh my god, yeah, we're gonna have to rehaul our... Oh my god. This is wild. I guess for now, we'll just do the inert for if self.inert what does inert actually mean? Like useless, right? So like if we're inert is true, which we start off as true, then we're gonna do our logic. And I want to put in this stuff too. So if we, and this would be if we're not inert. And then we start off as inert, so when we put us in the graveyard and we start inert as false, we shouldn't be moved to the top of the screen like we just were. So that means that when we spawn, we need to set our inert to false. So here, when we spawn this, we're gonna say, actually when we spawn this one, we're gonna say vulture1 dot inert gets false, which should then activate the clamping action. So what I'm looking for when we play it again, where is our inert? So we should be able to be in the graveyard now before we exist officially, which wasn't the case before. So, okay. So I guess what's weird is I wasn't expecting. I guess that makes perfect sense because we have our init gives us a dx of a negative 0.7. So unless we change our dx, you know, wherever we update our dx. Oh my god. You know, we'd only update our dx if we're not inert, but it doesn't really matter. I was just hoping it would be off screen, so it's off screen until there. So now let's see if we still explode here. We do explode. So the thing I want to test is instead of rendering X, we're going to be rendering a player 1. Remember, we were looking at our collision detection, our player to enemy collision. Anytime exploded gets true, we're going to just cycle through all these instances and see if any of those are turning true when they shouldn't be, because that's the only time we're actually exploding. So I'm trying to pinpoint what function is actually causing us to explode. So I'm gonna put player 1 enemy top collides, and the vulture, the enemy is our vultures 1 object. And then this is enemy top collides, yeah. So okay. So we're looking for, I'm going to be walking to the left really slowly, and when we explode, I want to see if our boolean turns to true, and if that might be causing us to explode. It didn't look like this one turned to true. Okay, it didn't look like it was that one, so let's go to the next one. We did, oh my god. So we're on line 227. So we need bottom collides now. And then we'll need left collides. And then right collides. So let's do bottom collides. And this will be bottom collides. And actually, the way to do this is really to just give us 2 more. Move them down, and put in right collides and left collides, and make sure we're printing out the same stuff. Now, if any of those are true, we should be able to see all at once here. And if none of these turn to true by the time we explode, you know, we have to look somewhere else. What the heck? None of them turned true. Okay, that was a mess up because we shouldn't. Okay, I mean, it's jacked. Why did the print score up here? Because the jockey wasn't even collected, man. That's the least of our problems right now, though. So, for real, none of those are turning true upon us dying. So, where are we actually becoming exploded? Let's look at our play state. At our player 1 exploded. We're exploded through a top collision, through a left collision, a right collision. We're also exploding if the monster collides, but the monster isn't on screen yet, so unless something weird is going on with the monster, I don't think that's it either. But we have a monster left collides and a monster right collides. A self-dot monster, though. Yeah, we should probably change that. So look, these are the other 4 that we're also exploding at. So let's check all of these as well. And this is in a play state, so we can say self-dot-monster left collides with player 1. Yeah, and then it's self-dot-right collides. If none of these turn true, then I don't know why we're exploding. I have no idea. Monster right collides. Hold on. Left collides, right collides, top collides, bottom collides. So lowercase, and then we've got top collides, and then we've got one more, which is bottom collides, and then 45. Okay. Oh, look at this. That was the one. And it's not enemy, it's monster left collides. And that time it was monster bottom collides. So our monster needs to be inert if it's not, okay. So I would not have guessed that at all. This is what was exploding us at the top there, our self-dot monster. So let's look at our self-dot monster and see what the heck's going on. We start off at -30 in the graveyard, right? But we have oh god, okay. I want to say, if we look in our monster class, holy crap. So let's look in our pterodactyl class and look in our update function. Look at this. See, we need an inert because the same thing's happening. We may not be rendering the monster, but the monster's up there, just invisible. And it's invisible because we're not rendering it, and it's up there and not in the graveyard because of our bouncing logic. Because we say, hey, if our X is, it's actually wouldn't be here, but it would be the, where's the top? How are we controlling it bouncing off the top? Oof. Fuck, man. Why are we doing that? We've got our X, but what about our Y? How are we telling the monster to not to bounce downwards? Now get a positive dx if we bounce. We gotta be doing it here somewhere. It should be in our update function, I would think. I think we do. Oh my god. Bounces ptero off floor, bounces ptero off screen. Okay. So yeah, I feel like all of that shouldn't be in the play state. It should be in the freaking monster update. So let's just move it. Yeah, instead of self.monster.height, it should be just self.height in our pterodactyl class. And then we'll need to add something similar and say we are calling it inert. If like we'll start off as inert. Once we get initialized, we are no longer inert, and then whenever we die, we become inert. We only do our Y clamping and our X looping if we're not inert. Otherwise, stay in the graveyard, because that's what's fucking us. That's why we're detecting a collision at the top and dying, is because the monster's not getting put in the graveyard. I mean, it is for one frame, and then it gets overwritten with our bounce logic here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put this stuff into our pterodactyl update, okay? And I'll do it right here. And I'll say, just want the indents to be consistent. And instead of self.monster.y, we say its y. Okay. Now, we need to do another thing. We need to only do all of these if we are not inert. I don't know a better word than inert. If not inert, do that. But here's the catch. We need this field initialized, and it actually gets initialized as false, so it defaults, no, it gets initialized as true, so it defaults to not updating our X or our Y. It does update it by dx and dy, so maybe actually that's a bad idea. Well, there's so much shit going on. This also needs to be if not inert. God, so stupid. If not inert, update our goodness. So we need to set our inert to false so that that can be updated, and we need to do that upon the instantiation, the reinstantiation, because Lua doesn't like it. But we're trying to do stuff that doesn't exist, so we have to initialize it with dummy values, which is one of the reasons. And the thing is, there might be a better way to do that in Lua. That's just what I've come up with to fix it. I don't know a different way of doing it. But we need to find our pterodactyl spawn. When do we initialize our pterodactyl? We do it right here. But that's not when we're putting it on screen. When we're putting it on screen is with the ptero timer. And if it's right here. So once we initialize it here, once ptero timer is 0, that's when we're no longer inert. And at that point, our DX will get updated and everything. So now let's see if our booleans are turning, or let's see if we're actually exploding up here anymore, because I'm hoping it'll fix it. Okay, let me try again. It didn't kill me, so that's good. I don't trust it, but let's see. Yeah, man. Looks like we fixed that bug. So we fixed one bug that we didn't know we had today, that we found very fast. But we discovered a thing that is very important, and it's that every time we put stuff in the graveyard, they're not actually staying in the graveyard. So we need to do the same logic to our eggs, the same logic to our jockey, the same logic to our print score objects with our inert. I mean, there's got to be a better way of implementing it than inert, but it works. It's just a boolean. Yeah, we at least fixed a bug, and we discovered something new. So we're gonna have to do the same thing for every collidable. Every time we put it in the graveyard, we need to say, hey, you're now inert. So don't bounce off the ceiling, or don't bounce off the left and right side, or loop on the left and right side, because we want you to stay in the graveyard. And even though we were correctly not rendering stuff, it doesn't mean those game objects weren't actually out of the graveyard and actually on the screen and actually fucking up all our shit. So yeah, we're gonna have to do that for other stuff. Before I get too deep into that inert stuff, I might wanna think a little bit about if there's a different way I want to do that. I guess I'm just curious what the definition of inert is. I thought it was like lacking vigor. Yeah, man. Yeah. I guess inert's fine. It's kind of funny. It makes me laugh. It makes me think of the Dragon... Is it Dragon Ball Z? That line? Yeah. So let us take off our debugging for now. We've got a couple of things we want to do that we can add to our notes. We can say... Gosh, yeah, we still got to look at that. So we got to say... We can add that we... actually move ptero to graveyard. Via inert. And then I can say we need to move vultures to graveyard via inert. As well as our eggs, as well as our jockeys, as well as our print score objects, I'm pretty sure. So we need vultures, we need eggs, we need jockeys, we need print square objects. I think. Leave us a question mark. We can check off that we did this. I want to say that we want to also rename ostrich collide functions, which instead of saying enemy top collides, I just want to change it to be what? Enemy left collides? That means an enemy's on the left side. I think I just want to say left collides. No. Enemy left collides. Yeah, so it's on the vulture's left, or it's on our ostrich's left side. So if, yeah, just want to rename those because I'm confused even thinking about them right now. So we'll rename those. And then I guess that's enough. That's enough homework to work for next episode. But yeah, we don't want to, not only do we want to put them to the graveyard, but we want to stop them from moving. You know, if they're inert, they shouldn't be moving on the DX. Yeah, DX. So I guess just the update on our DX. Our DX, because our vulture off screen was initialized with a negative DX, and then when it was inert, yeah, as long as our inert is including our delta X, delta Y, we should be okay with, we shouldn't run into any issues with a number getting more negative and more negative until it's just an overflow or whatever. So we at least fixed one bug. It was not what I was expecting, and it alerted us to a whole way that we were, messing up. Which could fix a lot of things in the future. So it could be the reason why our eggs were spawning up top. It probably is. And the reason why our print score was randomly populating up there as well. So yeah, and then we'll just have to be very adamant about debugging a bunch of different shit now that our game is getting very big. Yeah. Let's take a look or get diff real quick. We had added inert to our pterodactyl. We only update, we update our dx and dy only if not inert, and our last x and last y. And we also only loop and bounce our ptero if we are not inert. And then we added inert to our vulture, and we did the same thing with our... See, this is not quite right. We gotta add... Oh no, well... That might be right, okay. We just need to make sure our dx... yeah, we have to make sure our dx is also in the inert loop on here, which I'm not seeing. Where is our DX? DX update. Right here. This needs to be if not inert as well. So maybe we just take this line and put it in the if not inert, update our X position, and then that makes us so we don't bounce if we're inert, we don't loop if we're inert, Yeah. So let us, once again, git diff real quick. So it looks like we did our vulture as well. We did our pterodactyl and our vulture. We still got our eggs and our jockeys and our print scores to go. And then you just have to be careful, you know, looking at the interconnectivity of the program, making sure that all places in our play state aren't accidentally overriding this or needing a inert to be getting reset, because like if we do we press V, we're spawning new vultures, but that's not resetting our inert, is it? I guess in the initialization function it is, but we'll just have to kind of look through and make sure that's working okay. Then in our play state, we gave ourselves one vulture in the dummy value. So it's like, how were we doing this? How were we not initializing our vultures right away? Yet, when we wanted to do just one vulture, we did it to do the dummy. It's because the debugging. Yeah, it's because of debugging. Because the game can run fine if it's not, if a object is nil, the game will run fine, but the print function crashes if it tries to print a nil. Well, that's not true. It's not, it's like half true, because I've seen it print nil before. That's if a value is unassigned or nil, you know, nothing. But if we try to print a table that is nil, or if we pass in an argument, no, I don't know. I don't know why it'll print nil sometimes and then sometimes it crashes. I really don't know why. Well, on our ptero instantiation, we get false, and then our vulture inert gets false when we instantiate, and then we commented out our other vultures. We just have one. Then we commented out some debugging. So we'll do a get add everything to the staging area saying fixed ptero not in graveyard bug. I guess we can say adding inert field to ptero for correct graveyard placement. We also did it for vultures, but we'll make that a bigger commit next episode when we do it for the other things and test it a little more thorough. Okay. Yeah. We're not too far forward. Oh, I mean, no, it was good. It was good because we found out, you know, a thing that's probably screwing a lot of our game. So, it's those types of things that, like, those things were invisible. I didn't know the pterodactyl was sitting there on the top of the screen. You know, I thought it was in the graveyard because I put it there, but how the game actually works is different than I always told the game to work. Well, it's actually exactly how I told it to work. That's the funny thing about, you know, bugs in programming, where it's like the code isn't wrong, you are, you know, it's a logical error, logical bug. Anyway, I pushed. We gotta commit today. I'm tired. I'm going to bed, but we programmed today. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.